Let's get this party started.
A handshake is available upon request.
Thank you. May I have a handshake? Every time you find yourself here, it's because you chose to come back.
Innies, outies, shake it all abouties, welcome back to Severance with the Boys, live from deep underground in the auditory department on the 7th floor of Lumen. I'm your host, Luke F., and I'm joined as usual by my co-host and co-worker, Jonathan D. Say hi, John.
Hi, John.
Oh man, what a week we've had. We had a lovely team building potluck at the local community centre, but then Cobell turned up and it got kind of weird. Anyway, how's your week been, John, you mountebank woodland pauper?
Other than right now, it's been going well. Yeah, pretty bog standard week. Nothing too cray over here. Just got dumped on with snow, but other than that, all good from myself. Yourself, Lucas?
It's been great doing this. I feel like with movie time, we leave so long in between, we lose our groove, but we're finding a groove with this. It's been fun. We're getting some plays on the YouTubes and the Spotifys, so it's nice. We're very excited to have yet another international employee with us this week. Actually, John, do you hear the elevator again?
Oh, here it comes.
Hey!
It's Emma P. from Wellness. How are you, Emma?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Great, thank you. Good to have you with us here on the 7th floor.
It's wonderful to be here, I assume.
John, stop making goo-goo eyes at Emma. I don't want to make this awkward for you guys, but I need to tell you, full disclosure, you are fiancés on the outside.
No way.
Just so you're aware going forward.
Bold choice on my part.
Yeah. So before we get into it this week, I did receive a message from Mr. Milchick. Here it is.
This is the
Best Severance fan podcast
on the planet.
So he just sent that through. I thought it was really nice, so I'd feature it.
Thank you, Mr. Milkshake.
All right, guys, are you ready to spill some serious lineage all over this episode? Let's go. It's Irv, and he's stood on a precarious-looking icy lake. Within 5 minutes, he's reunited with Mark, Helly, and Dylan at the top of the hill. What the hell is that? Why is there a TV? How is it plugged in? Why does Milchick look so psychotic on VHS? The refiners are informed that they are in Dieter Egan National Forest around a team-building retreat, otherwise known as Ortbo, which is a surprisingly fun word to say out loud. Ortbo. As the presentation concludes, Mark and the gang set off a scissor cave, terrifyingly guided by evil twin Mark. At the cave, the Indies discover a book titled 4. The book contains many stories about Kier Egan and his twin Dieter, one of which is the story of Dieter's demise due to Dieter spilling his lineage in the forest. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Shortly after finding a decaying something in the woods, the team arrives at Woe's Hollow, enter the coolest man in the world, Seth Milchick. Speaking of the coolest things in the world, how about that waterfall, huh? Biggest one on the planet. The team are led to the campsite, where Miss Huang awaits with tasty treats and exotic meats. Later on, Irv asks Helly what happened with her during the overtime contingency. He's suspicious and he wants some goddamn answers. Give this man some damn answers, Helly. Also, was that an outie Helena look she just shot at Irv? A little later, it gets a bit Larry and all kicks off around the campfire. Mark and Helly laugh at the story of Dieter Egan melting in the forest due to jerking off, and Milchick doesn't like that one bit. He tosses everyone's tasty treats in the fire and goes to bed scowling. Helly and Irv get into it, everyone gangs up on Irv, and he goes sulking into the woods. But not before Helly cuts him deep with a low blow about Bert. That wasn't very Helly-like, was it? Irv passes out in the forest while Mark and Helly are bumping uglies in the tent. Irv has a creepy dream and awakes the next morning surprisingly alive. He notices Helly by the waterfall and once again starts pushing her for answers. After he's convinced he has his ducks in order, he grabs Helly, he forces her into a wild game of bobbing for pineapples in the river while Milchick, Mark and Dylan look on. Irv yells at Milchick to bring her back! He knows evil outie Helena Egan has infiltrated because nothing gets past our guy Irv. Helena yells for Seth to end it. He pulls out his radio and requests the Glasgow block to be removed. It was Helena all along! But now wonderful Helly is back and wondering why she is freezing cold with lungs half full of ice water. Irv is given a bollocking by Milchick, and in what is one of the saddest scenes of the show so far, is told to walk into the forest while his severed chip is disconnected. So long, old chap. Hang in there. Okay, Emma, give me your brief thoughts on what you thought of this week's episode.
Well, as you know, I try to enjoy each episode equally. But unfortunately, I loved this one more than the others, so I've deducted 10 points from myself. Thank you.
John, what did you think?
Yeah, Great episode. Well, I was hoping for obviously more answers about Mark's reintegration, but as Joe kind of mentioned last week, that it would be one of those kind of episodes where nothing is kind of mentioned on it, and he was right. Yeah, it's a great episode. A lot happened. I love Irvin. Milchek looks slamming again. Snow. How about you, Luke? How did you get on with the episode?
Honestly, hands down, this might be my favorite episode there has ever been of Severance. I love how it was kind of disguised as this episode about the law of Egan and Lumen, but instead we got this absolutely beautiful story of Irv and his struggles with finding the truth and ultimately his huge sacrifice that he made in the end. So yeah, it was amazing. All right, let's talk about some scenes. I guess start at the beginning of waking up on the lake. Emma, what are your thoughts on the first scene there?
Just in terms of this episode, is cemented Uv as probably my favourite character. I felt so upset at the end that, like, I genuinely have a parasocial relationship with that man. So, like, every reaction he has to anything that happens to him just really warms my heart. So, like, when he woke up on the lake and he's just like, oh. I'm just like, oh, be careful if you might slip on the ice. You know what I mean? I was expecting the episode to start with more of the reintegration from Mark. So it completely came from left field when they just suddenly stood on the ice. So I loved the way it started. It completely, like, I was completely confused what was going on.
John, what do you like about the intro though? Did you enjoy the intro?
Yeah, good. I'm sure we'll discuss further your theories as to how they just appeared in the middle of a lake, because I'm sure myself as an outie would not agree to stand in the middle of a frozen lake. And also how conveniently that Haley was already on the cliff and not in the lake.
But then again, so was Dylan, right?
Yeah, but shut up.
What do you make of these shadow people that are guiding them around?
We talked about this. It's very Jungian to have a shadow self. It's very Jungian to have a collective unconscious. Like the Severance as a whole has got Jungian themes throughout. But as I said to you the other day, John, I don't think that explains anything that's going on in Severance. Okay. I think they just use that as a tool because it's very connected to how a group works and then how the individual works and fighting the shadow and accepting your shadow. And the Dita story was just like, it was like reading the Red Book.
I guess maybe we should talk about that book. What's the deal with it? Do you think it's real? Do you think it tells real stories, or do you think it's like any made up?
Yeah, like the appendix 4. It's and the whole Kira is God. This is another version of the Bible. The Bible is mostly stories and metaphors, so this is probably just another metaphor for don't be a bell end, otherwise you'll be melted.
It's like any religious or cult text, isn't it? It follows such a good formula.
I did read something during my Reddit sleuthing.
Congratulations.
People are suggesting that text sounds very much like it was written by Rickon.
Okay.
And really?
This kind of links back to the other episode where they're trying to get him to come write for Lumen. The dead animal they come across in the forest, it looks suspiciously like a seal. What do you guys make of that?
I don't know what a dead seal looks like. I don't know at what stage it was dead, but I'm sure it's decaying slowly because of all the snow and ice, but I have no idea what the fuck that was.
It was weird how Irv suggested they eat it.
I think that was his army training coming through, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah. But we can talk about that later. Let's talk about Woe's Hollow and the campsite. I guess we can bulk those two together. The campsite's a little bit of a bigger scene. We'll get into that. But when they arrive at Woe's Hollow and Milchek tells them it's the biggest waterfall in the world, which I guess is true because it's the biggest waterfall in their world. Maybe.
I'd hate to accuse Milchek of lying about stuff, man.
Has anything else happened at Woe's Hollow?
Do you see the collective group of the fucking shadow people?
Oh. So why do we not see Irv until that point, Shadow Irv? Because he's not one of the guides. He just happens to be there.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bit strange to me. Okay, campsite. It's a big scene. Let's talk about it.
Mark's first time seeing fire was adorable.
It was, yeah. The blue tents as well looked really cool. That entire set looked great.
Yeah. So Milchek just telling the story with Miss Huang doing the soundtrack to it was great. Just a weird little theremin in behind me. Thought it was hilarious. Just really fit the story perfectly with the silly fable that he was telling.
Yeah, it was really good.
But just the like the seriousness and like the language he uses in the story is just, and like how it finishes on such a downer, and he just looks at everyone and is like, right, so next, and he was like, oh, you horrible bastard.
Yeah. I love Irv's reaction as well when he says the eye popped out. He's like,
Oh, yeah.
"Good grief," or something like that.
Yeah.
So we know. I guess we can reveal it at this point. We're not going to get to it yet, but that's Helena. That is the outie. John, you were right. Congratulations the entire time.
Waffle party for John.
You will have a music dance experience in the next episode.
Yes.
Why did she make fun of the story and laugh at Milchek if that is Helena? I mean, we know it is, but why did she do that? Is it because she just doesn't believe all this stuff? She thinks it's nonsense in real life, or is she just trying to play along as Helly still?
Maybe a solid mixture of both, because from what I'm getting from Helena in this episode is that she's not really enjoying being a Egan in her scene with Mark, when she talks about not liking who she was on the outside. I think that's genuine Helena just saying that she doesn't like her life. She doesn't like being a fetid moppet. A family are clearly not nice people, and I think that and her seeing like actually Helly having an inside relationship and friends and love interests. I think that kind of she's seen that in herself, that's something that she wants more than anything. So I think that kind of is taken over, but she's still an Egan at the end of the day, and she's still a bit of an arsehole when Irv's calling her out and all that kind of stuff. So it seems like she's torn between the two worlds, even though she's not severed in that moment. So it's a good scene. And Britt Lower, her acting in this episode, the eyebrows, the little twinges and in lips, and you're just like, oh my god, you horrible, fantastic person. It goes so well. You know when she's switching between Helly and Helena, it's just terrifying.
Yeah, that scene with Irv in the tent where you can just see her face switch is like, okay, these two are really knocking it out of the park this episode. John Turturro and Britt Lower. My god.
I think for me, so I was raised Catholic, which you wouldn't know if you met me these days. But like,
would never have guessed.
But like the telling off when you're finding something funny in like one of these treasured but poorly written texts, like so it really affected me. Like I was like, oh no, I'm getting told off, but I sort of felt that rebellion, and I really enjoyed that. And I think I sort of agree with you, John, and I think we saw an interview with Brett where she said Helena is trapped and rigid, and she's free in the outside world, but she's very trapped in that role, and she's got to behave a certain way. And she's seen in Helly that she can let loose and be free and be herself. And I think that she would have taken any opportunity to be Helly and be that free.
A lot of questions that I've been seeing are like, why didn't she come up with a better cover story for her outie? Like, is she purposely trying to get caught, or is she just stupid?
Yeah, it is a weak story. Was it just that she didn't have time? She like within the 3 days to make something up? Was it an instant type thing? Is she trying to get caught? Does she not know what actual life is like outside? Because it's hard to explain what it's like for a normal person to be
that's a good
integrated.
point.
What's a normal apartment? What do normal people have? Do normal people have gardeners? Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I just woke up on my gold couch. It's the worst. It was so cold.
The confrontation between Irv and the three innies is really kind of heartbreaking. Like the way Dylan turns on him as well. Let's talk about that and the low blow that Helly kind of gave Irv on the way out there.
Let's just say Helly was cruel.
She was cruel. Helly was never cruel. I think so many people had said that's Helena in there, and like all the videos we watched, everything I've read, they were like, "Oh, you can have a big twist in episode 4." It wasn't a big twist for me because I was like, "That's definitely Helena," but it was impactful in other ways, I think. And then when the marshmallows got put in the fire, like that was it. Like the gloves were off.
Yeah, every time something was going wrong, Milchek would always look at Dylan straight away and tell him it's for a team, being a team player, because he's very much so, he's building that into Dylan so much. It's like, if you're a team player, you get stuff. If you be a team player, we'll give you extra things.
There's going to be a breaking point for Dylan at some point this season, I think. Yeah, where he's like, enough's enough. I can't do this to my.
Well, you saw it at the end of this episode where he's like, "I'm sorry, Irv. I should have listened." It's a kind of big fuck you to Lumen, I guess, because he's like, well, they've just been lying to us. I should have listened to it. I'm sorry, don't do it. All that kind of stuff.
So there was Severance's first ever on-screen sex scene between Helly and Mark. Finally got to see those butts, John. What do you make of that? I feel like it's Helena at her most vulnerable that we've seen her yet. Helena, sorry, at her most vulnerable.
Yep.
That's where you can tell there is a decent side to her, I think.
100%. I think that's as I was saying, because that's why it made that scene afterwards harder, because you've just seen the nice side of Helena and you kind of like, oh, actually, I do feel a little bit sorry for you because you don't like who you are because of your terrible family type thing.
Any thoughts on that scene, or are we covered pretty much?
Yeah, pretty much covered. It was actually really nice, and it was nice to see Mark get some happiness, like in innie Mark, and I guess outie Mark. Who knows? And until Gemma popped up over his face, and you were like, "Oh yeah, he's got that wife."
Yeah.
Oops.
The dream with Woe, I guess her name is. She was creepy. I don't know what the deal with her is. I think I'm not reading into this too much. I just think he was literally dreaming after hearing the story. What I will say, I didn't notice this in the scene, but I read again. I just get most of my research from Reddit. When the numbers are all jumbling around on the screen during his dream before he sees Woe, apparently does the outline of Haley's face and spells out Egan. That was his, I guess, his subconscious telling him that his suspicions are confirmed and he's going to confront her.
He's working out how someone could be an outie on the inside, what kind of level, what kind of person would be able to pull that. And he's like, well, has to be someone that is either maybe the CEO or someone related to an Egan or possibly an Egan. So he's like, yep, she's a fucking Egan. Get in the drink.
Get in the drink. Final scene. Let's talk about it. John, I guess, start with you.
Yeah, so the whole scene of Irv coming out saying, hey kid, what are you doing here? You can kind of confirm that Helena's on the outside because Heliar was never cruel, which is a fantastic sentence and heartbreaking thing to say to him, to her. And then start showing for Milkshake and the gang. They all hear and run over, and then as he's dumping into the water, and it's just it's fantastic. It's heartbreaking. You want Heliar to come out, but also you've kind of just felt a little bit sorry for Helena as well, because she just said how much she doesn't like being Helena, and it's just it was a great scene to watch. It was tough because you don't want harm to, obviously you don't want any harm to Heliar, and also you just felt a little bit bad for Helena as well.
Final scene, what were your thoughts? How much did you cry?
I cannot talk about it without crying. I mean, John saw me at the end of the episode. I was a wreck. It was an extremely difficult watch, simply because I'm the kind of loser that really gets into characters. Severance has been one of my favourite things on TV. So to watch my friends fight in that way, even though I knew one of them was Helena, I was like, this is the worst. But the outcome, I think, was great. The delivery of the lines, like Heliar was never cruel, like it just, like they all just, like they were like little daggers going in. Do you know what I mean? I loved it.
Yeah, I thought the end scene was so powerful. John Turturro was just, it's some of his finest work that I've seen him in. The scene where he tells him to, the shot where he tells him to walk into the forest was just so ominous as well. And you see his face is just completely at peace as he's walking away. He's like, my work here is done. Like I've done all I can.
No, in episode 1 of season 2, isn't it? He's trying to leave again. He's like, I've got nothing down here. This kind of stuff. Like as you guys discussed, that he had to be the one to bring it into light because he had nothing else to live for. And his face at the end when he's like, I've done my bit. I've got nothing else here. I've proven that I'm the right one here. And it's just his face. Then you just see like the serenity come through him. He's like, okay, so let's take it to Theory Corner. As we know, Luke and his neckbeard is quite often on the internet. So, Luke, take it away with your newest wonderful theory of how someone is going to lose their head and or die and or virtual reality.
All right, so virtual reality, let's talk about it. I have a strong feeling that where they are, but I would say it's definitely within Lumen. It's definitely a program they are playing. Things to back this up, okay? The very first scene with John Turturro on the ice, no footprints anywhere around him. Mark was apparently on the ice, no footprints of Mark. On top of the hill, where did that TV come from? It wasn't there in one shot and it was there in the next shot. And how's it powered? The light in the cave of the book, how's that powered? Milchek comes out of nowhere. Like, just pops out of nowhere.
What my one against the theory would be, why was Helena screaming for Milchek?
Get into that. I'm getting to it. So things against the VR theory that I've read is, why is it such a panic to stop the Glasgow block and get her out of there if she's not really in danger because it's VR? Well, there's a chance they're in some kind of room, hear me out, where there's a pool that has no detail or texture on it, but they're seeing all this programmed in around them. So there is a real physical danger of her being drowned, but they're seeing it in this real life situation.
Just let him cook.
Let me cook. If this turns out to be VR, what's to say the whole Severance office isn't VR? What's to say the whole town of Kia isn't VR? Because the old cars mixed with the new iPhones makes no sense. John, you thought that was just a stylistic choice for the series, but there's a reason they're doing this. It makes a lot of sense for it to be, and I hope they're not going this route, because I really do not like if they go this route.
No.
I don't want everything to be VR, so I really hope that's not the point. I'm confident they're not going to go this route. Thoughts on that, please, guys?
I saw somebody else saying that they think that they're like the entire of Kia is virtual because there's no such place, and I was like, I really hope that's not the case at all, because then the impact of the innies and the outies would be completely lost, because none of it would be real. Yeah. So there'd be no, and who would you anchor yourself to in that story? You can't. Everything's virtual reality. So I really hope that that's not true.
Is there anything else we need to talk about?
Yeah, I got one.
Let's hear it, John.
So when Irv and Dylan are shouting back and forth, and Dylan's all like, I'm sorry. And Irv then turns to him and says, it's okay, just remember, hang in there. Hang in there, I believe, was a poster in the overtime contingency room with the cat hanging from there. So is that him saying, just remember, hang in there, bring me back when you need to, let's get this going again, let's burn this place to the motherfucking ground? Something along those lines. I think it's just he's trying to place a message into Dylan. Hang in there.
Could there be something hidden behind the poster?
No, this is not Shawshank Redemption. So thank you again, Emma P, for coming down to our severed floor. As you are from Wellness, is there anything you wanted to go through with us? Did you want to do our wellness checks right now?
In order to thank you very much for inviting me on this episode, I have picked out 2 specific points, one for each of you, about your outies, in order to reward you for your hard work this quarter. So first of all, Jonathan D, your outie enjoys the smell of his own fart. Please try to enjoy each fact equally. And Luke F, your outie sells Avon on the corner.
Thank you.
They didn't specify what corner. I assume a bad one.
Thank you again so much for listening to our podcast, Severance with the Boys. You can catch us on all of the socials, the YouTubes, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts, you should find us there. Thank you again for coming along this journey with us. Hope you all have a great day. Love you. You're doing well.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
Praise Kia.
Kia.